Welcome to Obsessed with Sports, where we interview athletes to share their post-sport journeys and explore how they are reinventing what it means to compete. Today we have Savannah Hooker.
Hello.
So happy to have you. Long time awaiting to get you in here. Okay, if you don't mind, I do want to go into the topic of mental health and you deciding, hey, I need more outside help. Mm-hmm. How was that decision? Did you feel like it was something that had to happen? Was it nerve-wracking going into that? Did you know anybody else that was doing it? I want to know all things.
Yeah, I feel like I was lucky to be in college at a time where mental health was like more widely talked about.
Yeah.
It in a different way than like the needs that I had, because mine was pretty specific to like my sport. Well, yeah. That's actually interesting because that's what I thought. But when I was going to sports psychology, it was so much deeper than that. And I would say it wasn't nerve-wracking for me just because I had been in therapy when my parents got divorced in high school. So It was like familiar for me. It didn't seem like that big of a deal or something that I was ashamed to do.
Yeah.
But as far as like doing it for gymnastics, I was a little unsure, like how could this even possibly help? Like what does that have to do? Because like, okay, here's another kind of perspective. I feel like in club, it was just like, I was used to being motivated by different things. So like motivated by fear or motivated by punishment, where it's like, if you don't do this, then you have to do 100 push-ups, or you have to do this.
Gotcha.
And in college, they just don't do that. So I did have to go through a phase of relearning, how do I motivate myself to do things that are scary or hard? So that was kind of a lot of what we talked about. And it was so much more than just gymnastics itself. It was like also like self-worth and just like my identity in gymnastics, all these things that we kind of talked through. But yeah, I think the motivating, like figuring out how to be self-motivated without punishment was very interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can relate to that, but yeah.
No, 100%. And I think that the things that you're talking about are super important because we face them, and it's so nice that you'll be able to speak about them because a lot of people can't. And so I think it'll help that if you feel like you need to see someone, it's okay. And there is actually sport-specific people that can help with issues like mental blocks or just not having even the motivation for your sport anymore. Yeah. So I think that's huge.
I hope that universities continue to prioritize it because we only had one sports psych for all athletes.
Wow.
That includes the whole football team, the whole basketball team, women's basketball, like everybody. So she was hard to get into, and obviously like mine wasn't like a do or die situation. So I think I would see her like once every other week, but I would have loved to see her more. So I think my hope is that they continue to prioritize people like her in universities and maybe make that a little bit more accessible. So, yeah.
How did you find out about your sports psychologist on campus? Was your coach very involved with it, or like flyers around campus? How was that?
If I'm remembering, I think she would speak at like the all athlete like welcome assembly thing that we would do at the beginning of the year. So she would kind of just come and talk. But I think it was my athletic trainer that was like, I think you should talk to her. I think this would be helpful for you.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay.
I'll try it.
Yeah, I might as well.
And did you see instant results, or how long do you think it took? And maybe it's still an ongoing thing that you're learning with seeing kind of results.
I think it's an ongoing thing. And so that was, I think that was probably my maybe my junior year that I saw her. So that was a whole thing. I do feel like it helped pretty, not instantaneously, but within like a couple of weeks or maybe even a month of seeing her, because this was pre-season. And by the time season came, I did feel like I was in a better place. But I also, it's hard to tell because I also very competitive, and I was motivated by making the lineup, being able to compete. And so there was that, but also then right after that was COVID. And COVID, we were out for 5 months and then had to come back to the sport. And there was a whole nother wave of like mental blocks of like, I thought I was done with gymnastics and now we have to be back. And I'm out of shape and now I have to get back in shape. So there was a whole nother wave of like, relearning things that we all went through together. And I think that kind of like, I don't want to say it made, like, I made progress and then we had to take some steps back because of that. But it ended up being fine and it is what it was. But that was a whole nother thing. COVID was a whole nother thing. And it was traumatic. It was traumatic for all athletes that had to experience it. And I know that everybody feels that way, so.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, so we're in college. How was it? I want to start talking about senior year, deciding that, gymnastics may no longer be a thing. How are we feeling, and what are the next steps?
So gymnastics is a child's sport. It's not really meant for grown women. So
Yeah.
by the time I was a senior, I was like a grandma. I was like, my body's breaking down. I was very lucky, like I said, to not be injured, but COVID made it really hard. I was feeling old. I was feeling more afraid of things. So I was definitely and also mentally just getting to the place where I was okay with the way that my career was, and just like coming to terms slowly with like, this is the end. And I feel very lucky that I was in the space to like be okay with that, but also something that really helped. I started an internship it was the summer before my senior year of college at the place I work now. So I was a remote marketing intern for a mortgage company in Chicago that I actually have a cousin who worked there and does still work there now. But he hired me as a marketing intern, and I worked my whole senior year. So I was like already like part-time working and still doing gymnastics, but I feel like it was just kind of a natural transition of like something to look forward to, of like, okay, I'm actually good at this too.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be fun to move to Chicago, and it's gonna be, fun to start, just having more free time. I was looking forward to the things that gymnastics didn't allow for either.
Yeah.
So I think I was really lucky to have a more optimistic and excited outlook on life after sports when I was still in gymnastics, versus a lot of people are there and just kind of don't know what the future holds. Do I want to go to grad school? Do I want to move? Am I going to move back home? Whereas I kind of felt lucky to be kind of set up and have an idea of where I wanted to go.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. And I think that, obviously helps you and can help others too, is if you can find the time to start looking into those different careers, or trying to secure an internship, or just asking the questions, you know what I mean? Going to career fairs, things like that. And so we'll rewind a little bit. What was your major in college?
I was marketing with a focus in sales.
Okay.
I technically was a double major in political science. I actually don't know if I finished everything for that major, but marketing was my primary focus.
And so did the mortgage industry, it was just something you knew connections with, or how did that relate to marketing, or you really didn't care at that point?
At that point, I didn't care.
Okay.
Again, COVID, I was interviewing hardcore for like some really big internships that I wanted.
Gotcha.
Everything was falling through. I was really like down bad.
Yeah.
And we needed an internship to graduate, like in the College of Business. And I was like, what am I going to do? So I posted something on Facebook, like a literally desperate Facebook post that was like, does anybody know anybody that needs like an intern? It doesn't even have to be marketing, just like free labor, whatever.
Yeah.
And I had one of my cousins who was in real estate with the mortgage side of things. He was kind of like a couple years into his career. During COVID, interest rates dropped really low, so he was just like doing really well, growing a team. And he reached out to me and said like, I could use some marketing help, and I was paid. I was like, oh my God, this is the best. So that's how that happened. And going back to, I think you asked like, was the mortgage side of things like marketing related, or is it more about who you know? Absolutely. Like never would I have told you that this was a dream of mine, that I ever would want to do something like this. It's just because of who I knew. And now here we are, and I love and adore my job. So
yeah, and it can't ever hurt to, sometimes you have to make that post. Sometimes that desperate post in life.
And the thing is too, he is just one of those people too that really was like we were close growing up, but he really saw the advantage of working, like having someone on his team that was an athlete.
Yes.
And I think there's like, it kind of depends on who you ask about this, but when you go to job fairs and stuff in college, they tell you being an athlete is great, it's gonna look great on a resume, but I feel like there are people out there that means nothing to, whether they just weren't around it, or like if you're interviewing and somebody has, an internship experience and you have D1 sports, it's like, okay, maybe that was cool, but this might be more applicable.
Right.
So I was really nervous about that, but he was someone that really saw the value in like, and understood, this means she's hardworking, this means so much more than just being able to do flips. So I'm really appreciative that he saw that value in me even back then.
Oh yeah. I think being an athlete in the workforce, we can provide a lot. And And like you said, some people really gravitate towards hiring those athletes and things like that because they can see what we're able to bring. But you have to be able to, especially if you didn't get that chance to get those internship experiences and things like that, to be able to kind of sell yourself in a way that shows all those qualities that you built while being an athlete. So.
And I think reflecting on your career in sports, and really people all the time ask, like, do you miss it, or what's like the biggest thing that you learned? And I think it's hard to articulate a lot of those things for a while because like time management and like everybody, it's kind of like everybody kind of says that stuff. But I think like understanding, at least for me, something that I'm really proud of, and I think other people should, you know, really use this if you are having a hard time finding someone that will take a chance on you, is like something that gymnastics taught me that no one else at our age can understand is what it takes to accomplish a goal. So like how long and how hard you have to work sometimes to get, you know, what you want, and how long you have to work with no reward, no praise, like in the dark for years and years and years to get, for me, what was my goal, a scholarship. Like those years of like how hard I had to work with nobody giving a fuck, and like it's something you can't teach. Like it's something you can't like, you know what I mean?
No, we're cutting the episode right here because that was literally the biggest piece of wisdom that you could drop on everyone. I think that was amazingly said and put because, we're used to grinding for years and years and years for whatever goal you have and whatever sport you are, and it's crazy. And then maybe you get that success in whatever it is, and sometimes you never do.
You don't,
Sometimes you never do.
Yeah, but I think that alone, compared to at least what I've like observed amongst people my age in my career, is a lot of people give up too soon where they have this goal and they just don't understand. Like if you set a goal that seems unreachable, but it's possible, sometimes you don't take into consideration like how long it might take you to get there.
Right.
So people might do something really consistently, work really hard for like 6 months and give up because they're like, I didn't get it.
Yeah.
But no, I'm the first one to tell you that it took me how many years? Like over 10 years of hard work, like to get that goal. So I understand what it takes to get to the next level.
No, I love that. Okay, how do we pivot off that? So we got into your internship, and then talk to me about graduating, and then I know you already kind of dived into securing that job, but what were the conversations of, okay, this is something I want to do, I think I want to get a job here, and moving your life, things like that?
I think that phase of my life really taught me that I feel like, okay, if you would have asked me like a year or two before I graduated what the next chapter of my life looked like, I feel like I could have told you, I had like a plan. I had it planned out in my head, and I think what that phase of my life actually taught me was sometimes life opens up doors and opportunities that you don't expect, and that is okay.
Yeah.
So it's okay to kind of plan ahead and have, a plan, but if life presents a different opportunity, I think being open to that is something that I will never stop doing from that phase of life. Because like I said, I wanted to do like pharmaceutical sales or medical sales or something like really sexy. And of course, like mortgage lending, just it's not quite that. And I was like, really? Like really life? This is what you're handing to me?
Why?
I know. But also a big piece of that too was at that time I had been dating my now husband for like a year, and he had a job in Chicago. So it kind of just made it easier because I was like, okay, I like this internship. This is an opportunity. He's moving here. We can move in together. So I think that was a big piece of it too, of just like life kind of pointing into a similar direction from different areas. And I was like, okay, like I'm just gonna, seems like this is kind of naturally what's happening. So I'm just gonna trust it and try it out and figure it out after that.
So it seems, I know it wasn't smooth, but we've made a transition. Were there any times where it wasn't sunshine and rainbows, where you thought, stepping in the first day in the office, there's no one knows I'm an athlete, no one knows that I spent X amount of years dedicated to that, any type of identity stuff?
Well, like I said, I had been working there for about a year remote. So people actually, my coworkers actually like would watch my meets sometimes, and also it was COVID, so everything was like broadcasted online because a lot of people couldn't come. So I will say, like, it was sunshine and rainbow. Like, it was fun because everyone, you know, was like, oh my God, Savannah, like meeting you in person finally. But trying to reestablish myself as not a gymnast.
Yes.
And honestly, like, I feel like for a while I kind of resented it because I was like, no, like, I'm not that anymore. Now I'm a professional. Like, now you need to take me seriously on the real estate side. So I was lucky to feel comfortable, especially because I was working with my family, like my cousin.
Yeah.
We actually have a couple of family members that work there. So never was it like intimidating, but it was a big transition identity-wise, reestablishing myself. Also, just like, I have never had a job before that. I was a coach, and that's a job, but like when I was little. So when I was like 15, 16, I would coach like little kids, but I had never done anything else. Like, never been on payroll at any job, like not even fast food retail. So that was kind of new, just adjusting to like being a professional. And yeah, I feel like it was an adjustment, but it wasn't necessarily negative.
Okay. No, I like that perspective on it. And do you think now, how many years have you been with this company?
It's been almost 5 years. I've been licensed almost 4. So I got my license right after I graduated, which I guess I kind of put that period of time into a box in the back of my brain because that sucked. I was studying for the exam, which is like a licensing exam. And for like 2 months, that's all I did was like read this textbook, and it was pretty miserable. So that wasn't fun. Yeah. But I passed, actually failed the first time. And then I had to take it again 30 days later, and I passed. But like I said, I'm putting that dark time in a box in the back of my brain and not letting it dim that time of my life because it was still fun. Like, moving to Chicago was fun. Moving in with my boyfriend at the time was fun. So.
Yeah. And 5 years into it, how is it now? Do you still have ties to gymnastics, or, you know, I want to put that in a separate good box in my life, you know, tuck it away? How has it been?
I would say it's in a separate box. And yeah, I have a really weird relationship with gymnastics right now where it's like, I'm very proud of the fact that I was a gymnast and an athlete. But I also I feel like I've finally made a different identity for myself in my work and like just as a human being outside of an athlete. So I'm also very proud of that. I don't have the urge to do gymnastics ever. Like, I think a lot of my friends still like find a gym to go to and like mess around, like do flips. And I'm like, no. I like working out. Me and my husband go to the gym every single day, but I really, really, I feel like I'm in a phase still of like reclaiming my freedom as it comes to like my physical body. Like,
can we talk about that?
Like, I love the fact that some days I wake up and I'm like, I don't want to go. Or I just want to walk on a treadmill. I don't want to go on a balance beam and do flips in the morning. I do not want to get on a bar and put a leotard on and swing around. Like, absolutely not. And for however many years, like most of my life, it was like not an option.
Exactly.
And so now I'm just so protective over that where I'm like, no, I don't want to do gymnastics. Not yet. Maybe one day.
No, I love that and that's kind of, in small terms, how I started this. And when I got into the fitness industry and becoming a personal trainer, it was, I know I love this and fitness, but there was a dark time in the first 6 months of it where I stopped going to the gym completely. I
went through that too.
Yeah, I couldn't step foot in it. And one of my mentors, reached out to me and we had a very good conversation. And she's a great person, but it was just asking me, what's wrong? You haven't been. And I was just like, I don't know. Like, I don't want to do it. I feel like it's forced, and I don't want to go back to that. Yeah. Especially being out of sports. And it's like, that's when I knew, okay, it's a topic too, where it's like, okay, we need to be active. It's important to have that lifestyle, but the choice, choosing, and like you said, also choosing to go to the gym, but also choosing what I want to do in the gym.
Right. And also, you don't know, like, I didn't know even what working out even meant, just because I only worked out for performance and to be able to perform at a high level. So, and I only was either weightlifting or doing gymnastics. So then I was like, let me try these like workout classes. And then sometimes I would get in my head like, that wasn't a good enough workout because I'm not physically exhausted like to complete, Yes. So I think I'm in a really good place now where I love trying new things and I like am very much listening to my body. And I think, I mean, I did just get married, and the phase before that, a little bit of my old gymnastics self, like tendencies came out where I was like a little overboard of like, I need to work out every day, like to complete exhaustion. So I'm going through a little bit of a phase where I'm like, you know what? Like a walk is great. That's great. And some days, you know, pushing myself does feel good, but it's okay if it doesn't. It's okay if you're not in the mood one day, it's okay to rest.
Yeah. And I don't know if you feel like that, but me, that was a big thing too, of being okay. Just being like, not beating yourself up. I don't want to go. And then I would sit and be like, nope, and you go through all the mental bad things that you say to yourself, and getting out of that stage of like, it's okay. It's really okay. Not just saying it out loud, like believing it is okay to not work out or not be in a gym. Like, you're still a good person. You know what I mean? It sounds dramatic, but there are different phases that you go through where it's like, and you feel like, I can't say that out loud, no one would understand.
Yeah.
And
I will say, it's been very interesting because my husband, we've lived together 4 years now, and that he was there while I was still a gymnast, and then immediately after, and like he was there through the transition, I guess I should say.
Yeah.
We lived together through the transition out of gymnastics, and he also was a Division I athlete. He ran track. He did football before that. So it's very interesting to see his relationship with like sports. Like also he's a guy. We did different sports, so it's very different, but we do hold each other accountable. Sometimes we even push each other too much, but it's just the nature of like what we're used to. But that was also very helpful. Like the times when it would be like I couldn't get myself to go to the gym, like he would be the voice of reason. Like, are you not going for the right reasons, or do you need someone to push you?
Yeah.
So that's been nice to have each other.
Oh, that's awesome. Wow. I love that. That's so cute. And just having that support system there and somebody that's been through it. And like you said, it's never going to be the exact same journey, but you're able to at least understand each other. Yeah. And that's awesome. Oh, wow. I just feel like we've gotten to talk about so much. Well,
I feel like there's one thing I want to add. And I think if you're an athlete and you feel like you're just struggling to find your identity, or maybe just identity in general. For me, I found it in a career, but I also feel like it's really important to take time to think about like where does your self-worth really lie? And I think that's something that I talked about a lot and when I saw the sports psychologist, because we have a tendency to think that our worth lies in performance, and that is not healthy. So definitely work on that if that's you. And it's something I'm still working on, especially because now I'm in sales, and sales is great. Sales uses a lot of the skills that I built through sports because it's competitive. It's an individual performance base. So, you know, what you get out is what you put in, but it's not your worth. It's not your self-worth. Your self-worth is really outside of that, and it's kind of for you to go on your own journey with. Like, no one can really tell you, which is the hard part.
Yeah.
But yeah, highly recommend therapy, wherever it is that you can find those answers is important to prioritize.
That's awesome. If you had the opportunity, what advice would you give to former athletes?
That is prioritize figuring out your self-worth. Understand the skills that you developed on a deep level and how you can use them for your benefit in the future, whether that is career, really understand the value that those have.
I think those are great.
Okay, good.
Any advice you'd give to current athletes?
Yeah, same thing. Start thinking about your identity outside of sports because it doesn't last forever. And I mean, in my sport, it was interesting because there was no like opportunities to go on after. So I think that's like a whole different thing, is if you're like on the fence of deciding whether to or not.
Yeah.
But I think surround yourself with people that really love you for who you are, not for what you've done, is huge. Yeah. Make friends that are outside of your sport. Like, just be open to new things. And I think it's really beautiful, like falling in love with the freedom to explore different parts of your life.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here and sharing everything. It's known each other a long time, so I'm very glad you were able to share all your wisdom.
We need to put a date on this. Like, we keep saying a long time. I've probably The first time I probably met you was like 2006. It's literally probably been 20 years that I've known Mickey.
They're gonna be able to put my age down. I can't let them know.
That's crazy.
No, it is.
Crazy.
Please don't do the math because I am hiding my age from the people. 23, we're riding on, okay? But yeah, a long time. So a long time coming. We haven't gotten to talk about her career, but amazing athlete. She's and doing amazing things outside of it. So happy to be able to get you in here and share your wisdom. And yeah,
I appreciate you. Thank you for having me.